Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a whole heap of source material and really boil it down so you can get smart on a topic fast.
That's the idea. Quick insights, deep understanding.
Exactly. So today we're tackling a big one, Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last. You've probably seen this book everywhere. It's been a massive bestseller.
Oh, absolutely. Sinek really tapped into something. His ideas about why some teams work so well together and others, well, don't. It resonates.
It really does. And we're going straight to the source today, pulling directly from the book itself to unpack his main points.
Yeah, get right into the text.
Right. And our mission here isn't just to say, oh, be a nice boss. It's deeper than that. We want to dig into the why. Why do some groups just have that incredible cohesion, that loyalty, while others seem plagued by infighting, even when everything looks right on paper?
Yeah, what's the secret sauce, really?
Okay, so let's dive in. Sinek starts by talking about his travels, right? And seeing this stark difference.
He sees these teams, often in the military, but elsewhere too, with this incredible bond. Just deep trust, people looking out for each other.
And then he sees other groups, maybe corporate teams, often with big bonuses and perks, but they're just riddled with cynicism and backstabbing.
Right, totally dysfunctional sometimes. And he's trying to figure out, what makes the difference.
And there was this pivotal moment for him, wasn't there? A conversation.
Yeah, absolutely key. He talks to a Marine Corps general, and the general mentions the simple practice. Officers eat last.
Officers eat last. It sounds simple, but what's the deeper meaning Sinek pulls from that?
Well, it's not just about queuing for food, obviously. It's a symbol. It represents the leader's responsibility to prioritize the needs and the well-being of their people first.
Putting the team before themselves.
Exactly. And when leaders do that consistently, it builds this incredible foundation of trust and loyalty. People feel cared for, protected.
So the most junior Marines get their food first, the seniors wait till the end. It's a visual, right? A daily demonstration of who matters.
Precisely. And Sinek argues this isn't some new management fad. He goes way back.
Like evolution back.
Yeah, deep evolutionary biology. Think about early humans, tribes of hunters and gatherers. Our survival, literally finding food, shelter, avoiding predators, finding mates. It all depended on feeling safe within the group.
Makes sense. You wouldn't last long on your own out on the savannah.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
Safety came from the group, from trusting those around you. We're wired for that.
And there's that quote he uses. It's really powerful. Leaders would sooner sacrifice what is theirs to save what is ours. And they would never sacrifice what is ours to save what is theirs.
Oof, yeah. That hits hard, doesn't it? It's about protecting the collective, the us, above personal gain or survival.
So what happens when people do feel that safety? When they believe their leaders genuinely put the group first?
Well, result is profound. People are willing to go the extra mile, to pour their energy into the leader's vision, to work tirelessly. Because they trust them. They feel secure.
That feeling of safety unlocks commitment.
Totally. It's the bedrock.
Okay, so that's the core principle. But Sinek doesn't just leave it there as theory. He uses stories, right? Really powerful ones.
Oh, yeah. The stories are crucial. The one about Captain Mike Drowley, Johnny Bravo, and Afghanistan is just incredible.
Set the scene for us. What was happening?
Okay, so it's August 16, 2002. Pitch black night, really thick cloud cover. There's a special forces team, 22 guys, on the ground escorting a high-value target. Then the call comes in.
The one you don't want to hear.
Exactly. Troops in contact. They're under fire. Johnny Bravo's flying an A-10 Warthog way above the clouds. He can't see them, but he can sense the danger, the fear.
Even though he's relatively safe up there in his cockpit, what he calls his safe cocoon.
Right. But he decides he has to get down there. He performs this incredibly dangerous maneuver called a weather letdown.
Which involves flying blind through thick clouds, thunderstorms, down into a valley at night, using night vision goggles.
Yeah, insanely risky. Low clouds, storms, mountains all around. Everything is working against him.
What drove him to do that? It wasn't orders, was it?
No. Sinek says it was pure empathy. He felt the danger those troops were in, even miles away. He felt responsible. It wasn't about procedure, it was about connection.
And Sinek mentioned something fascinating, that Bravo actually used mental imagery during training.
Yeah, apparently he'd visualize the landing scene from Saving Private Ryan to really cultivate that feeling, that empathy for soldiers under fire. Pretty intense.
Wow. So he breaks through the clouds. What does he see?
Just chaos. The valley is lit up with tracer fire, all converging on a pinned-down American position. Remember, this is 2002. The tech wasn't what it is now.
Right, less sophisticated avionics. And he was using old maps.
Old Soviet maps, apparently. The odds were just terrible.
But he goes in anyway, making passes, firing his Gatling gun, calculating speed, avoiding mountains, coordinating with his wingman when he runs low on ammo.
It's extraordinary bravery and skill, and Sinek quotes him saying something really profound about the risks.
Yeah, what was that?
Bravo says, "There are fates worse than death. One fate worse than death is accidentally killing your own men. Another fate worse than death is going home alive when 22 others don't."
That just speaks volumes about his mindset.
It really does. Calculated risk, but driven by that immense responsibility.
And the outcome?
22 men went home alive, no American casualties on the ground, an unbelievable result.
And Sinek makes a huge point about why he did it. It wasn't for a medal, right?
No bonus, no promotion, nothing like that.
Yeah.
He just said it was part of the job, his job.
The real reward was something else entirely.
Yeah, meeting those guys later, getting this huge hug like they were old friends already, that connection was the reward, not some top-down recognition.
It's such a contrast to how many organizations work.
Totally. And Bravo himself says empathy was his greatest asset that night, more than training, tech, anything.
Why? His reason was so simple.
Because they would have done it for me. Just that absolute certainty of mutual support.
It suggests that this level of courage isn't just for heroes, right? It's something that can emerge in anyone, given the right conditions.
That's exactly Sinek's point. When leaders create that environment of safety and care, people naturally step up. They give everything.
And while the military stakes are life and death, the pattern applies everywhere.
Absolutely. Successful organizations, the ones that thrive, have leaders who provide cover, people who look out for each other. It all comes back to empathy.
Okay, so moving from these high-stakes situations, Sinek also looks at more, let's say, everyday organizational life. He talks about a company called Hasten Sandiaker before a leader named Bob Chapman arrived. What was that like?
Oh, it sounded pretty grim, honestly. Very old-school factory environment. Bells dictated everything: when you start, when you break, when you eat.
Like school.
Yeah, very regimented. And a real divide between the factory floor workers and the office staff. Different treatment, different rules.
And things like locked cages for parts, payphones you needed permission to use.
Exactly. Little things that just screamed, "We don't trust you." It created this atmosphere of, well, control and suspicion.
And there's that story of Ron Campbell, a longtime worker, asking Chapman point blank.
Yeah, if I tell the truth, will I still have a job tomorrow? I mean, that just says everything about the previous culture, doesn't it? Fear.
So Chapman comes in. What does he do first?
Simple things, but hugely symbolic. He got rid of the time clocks, got rid of the bells.
Wow. Just like that.
Just like that. Sending an immediate message: I trust you to manage your own time.
That must have been a shock. What else did he change?
Unlocked the parts cage, took out the pay phones, made company phones available to everyone. The core idea was just treat people, like valued adults.
He believed in their fundamental goodness.
Exactly. And he acted on that belief. It wasn't just talk.
And what happened? Did it work?
Sinek describes a total transformation. The place started to feel like a family. People felt seen, valued. Engagement went way up. Chapman called it engaging their heads and hearts.
And there was that example of employees helping each other out.
Yeah, pooling vacation days for a colleague in crisis, even though it was against the rules. People started genuinely caring for each other.
That's real culture change. And Ron Campbell said he never thought enjoying a job was possible until that trust was built.
Right. And interestingly, Sinek notes that things like theft actually decreased. People looked after the equipment better, fewer breakdowns. There were tangible benefits.
Okay, but what about the bottom line? The numbers guys always ask about that.
Well, that's the kicker. Revenue jumped massively from about $55 million to $95 million. And they did it without taking on debt or bringing in consultants for some big reorganization.
So the growth came from the people already there.
Entirely. Their renewed commitment, their energy, they weren't just working for a paycheck anymore. They were working for each other with pride.
Sinek tells another story about Chapman, a realization he had in the cafeteria back in '97.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. He noticed how lively and happy people were before the morning bell rang, chatting, laughing. Then the bell rings.
What's that?
Silence. Sullen faces, work mode engaged. And it struck Chapman, why did work have to extinguish that joy? It forced him to rethink everything.
He'd been focused purely on numbers before, seeing people as assets.
Pretty much, like many leaders. But that observation sparked his shift towards what he called truly human leadership,
Mm.
creating an environment where people could be themselves, be recognized, celebrate successes.
And Chapman has that quote, Sinek includes, it's really key. When the people have to manage dangers from inside the organization itself becomes less able to face the dangers from outside.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
If everyone's busy watching their backs internally, worried about politics or layoffs, how can they possibly focus on the competition or innovation or customer needs?
It drains all the energy inwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes against our evolutionary design, which is all about internal cooperation to face external challenges. Chapman realized he didn't need to change the people. He needed to change the conditions they worked under.
Create that safety.
Create the safety, and they would naturally give their best.
Which is so critical when you think about stats like that Deloitte Shift Index Sinek mentions. Something like 80% of people are unhappy in their jobs.
80%? It's staggering.
Yeah.
And Chapman connects this to a leader's deep responsibility. He uses that analogy of a father giving away his daughter at her wedding.
Yeah, that's powerful. The responsibility a leader has for the lives entrusted to them.
He says, every single employee is someone's son or someone's daughter. Like a parent, a leader of a company is responsible for their precious lives. It completely reframes leadership.
And when you treat people like family, like precious lives.
You get loyalty, you get pride, you get people who will defend the company and each other fiercely.
And Sinek's point is that, ironically, this very human approach is actually what makes capitalism work best in the long run.
Right. Prioritize the people, treat them well, and the numbers often follow. Stable, innovative, high-performing companies are built on that foundation. It's the great people who make the leaders look like geniuses.
So the challenge Sinek leaves us with there is, do we have the courage to build organizations like that, to really put people first?
It's a big question for all of us.
Definitely. Okay, so then Sinek introduces this core concept, the circle of safety. He uses Marine boot camp as a prime example. What's the transformation there?
It's all about shifting identity. They deliberately break down the individualistic Amemi mindset and forge a powerful we-together-us identity. It's grueling, intense.
Purposefully so.
Right. And it culminates in receiving the eagle, globe, and anchor. That symbol means you belong. You're part of the tribe now. You've earned your place.
And the result is that incredible confidence, commitment, and trust Marines have in each other.
Exactly. Which leads directly into the circle of safety idea. What is that, fundamentally?
It's this bubble, almost. When a group shares values, has real empathy, it creates this internal environment of trust and cooperation. People feel safe inside the circle.
And that allows them to do what?
Focus outwards. Deal with the external dangers, the competition, the market changes, whatever's out there, instead of fighting internal battles. He uses that old Aesop fable, remember? The 4 oxen.
Right. Sticking together, they were safe from the lion, but when they argued and split up,
The lion picked them off one by one. Internal conflict makes you vulnerable.
So boot camp isn't just teaching skills. It's building that trust, that circle. Sinek even draws it, right? A circle labeled safe inside, surrounded by danger outside.
Yeah. And he breaks down those dangers. What are the external ones?
Stuff you can't really control. Market ups and downs, new technology coming along, competitors doing their thing, pressure from shareholders. It's just the reality of the world. Constant.
Okay, and the internal dangers, the ones inside the circle.
Those are the ones leadership can control. Things like fear of layoffs, office politics, being punished for mistakes, intimidation, humiliation, feeling isolated or useless, rejection. That's the internal stuff that erodes safety.
So the leader's job is basically to build the fence, to protect the inside from those internal dangers.
That's a great way to put it. Build the circle of safety. Foster belonging. Have clear values. Build trust. Show empathy. Minimize the internal threats so people can focus on the external ones.
And the benefit is?
It frees up so much energy. People aren't wasting time and effort on self-preservation or navigating politics. They can innovate, collaborate, solve problems, seize opportunities. Sinek says, it is the company we keep who will determine where we invest our energy. It comes down to feeling your colleagues have your back.
He uses that Spartan analogy too, doesn't he, about the shield?
Yeah, brilliant analogy. The shield wasn't primarily for protecting yourself, but for protecting the soldier next to you, maintaining the integrity of the whole line. Everyone is responsible for upholding the circle.
And the leader is like the gatekeeper, deciding who gets in.
Exactly. Setting the standards. Looking for character and fit, not just skills. Like adopting a child, he says it's a big responsibility who you let into the family, into the circle.
And good leaders extend that circle to everyone, right? Not just their favorites.
That's the crucial difference Sinek highlights. Weak leaders create a small circle for their inner clique, leaving everyone else outside to fend for themselves.
Which leads to,
Silos,
yeah,
politics,
yeah.
cover-ups, slow information flow, just a general feeling of unease and distrust. It's toxic. But strong leaders work to make the circle encompass everyone. And when you're inside that kind of circle, how does it feel?
You feel valued, cared for, confident that people have your back, including your leaders. You belong.
And the results are tangible.
Oh, yeah. Information flows freely, communication is open and effective, innovation happens naturally, problems get caught early. It's just a healthier, more effective environment.
Whereas the absence of that circle breeds paranoia, cynicism, self-interest.
People just look out for number one, and Sinek stresses you can't demand trust or cooperation.
No, they're outputs. They happen because people feel safe and trusted. It's cause and effect. And it goes both ways. People inside the circle also care about their leaders' well-being.
It's mutual. So Sinek leaves us hanging with that question again, really personally. How safe do you feel where you work? It forces you to think.
It really does. Then he tackles the yeah, but reactions, the skepticism.
Right, the practicalities. He introduces Ken, this mid-level guy, making good money but hating his job, feeling stuck. That feeling is common, isn't it? Work's just work, gotta pay the bills.
Super common. And Sinek acknowledges the real pressures, mortgages, families, bills, plus the pressures on leaders, Wall Street demands, board scrutiny, competition, just keeping a small business afloat.
And the perception that all this people stuff is soft. Hard to measure the ROI.
Exactly. It can seem idealistic when you're facing hard financial realities.
But Sinek pushes back hard on that. He argues the cost of staying in bad jobs is way higher than we think. It's not just about happiness.
It's about health, physical and mental health.
Yeah.
He points out that job security is often an illusion anyway, with layoffs being so common.
And he brings in research, right? What did the studies show?
Pretty damning stuff. That University of Canberra study found hating your job is as bad for you, maybe worse, than being unemployed in terms of depression and anxiety.
Wow. It's as bad as being unemployed.
Yeah. And other research links work stress mainly to poor management, not to the work itself. Lack of recognition tied to heart disease. Gallup polls showing disengagement based on your boss.
And those Whitehall studies were fascinating. What was the key finding there?
It wasn't about how much responsibility you had. It was about how much control you felt you had over your work. Less control equals more stress.
Even though they were all government workers with similar benefits.
Exactly. Which isolated the variable of control. Lower rank, less control, more stress-related illness, even higher rates of early death.
And leaders actually had lower stress because they felt more in control.
Seems counterintuitive, but yeah, that sense of agency makes a huge difference. And frighteningly, they found similar patterns in primates. It seems fundamental to our biology.
So feeling unsafe and lacking control at work literally makes us sick. It violates our design.
That's the argument. Yet people stay. They rationalize. They feel stuck. That Mercer report showed tons of people thinking about leaving, but not actually doing it.
So if leaving isn't always an option, what's the alternative Sinek suggests?
Focus on what you can control. Offer the protection of your shield to your colleagues. Build smaller circles of safety where you are. And he argues treating people well is always more cost-effective anyway, especially when times get tough.
He even brings in the impact on kids.
Yeah, that Boston College study. Kids are more affected by their parents' mood coming home from work than the hours they work. An unhappy parent coming home does more damage.
So the price of not demanding better leadership, not building these circles, could actually be harming our children.
That's the implication. It's a heavy thought. It all traces back to prioritizing numbers over people.
But the solution isn't finger-pointing, it's collective action, building those circles.
Right. And the good news, he says, is we have biology on our side. Powerful forces that drive this.
Which brings us to EDSO, the happy chemicals.
The happy chemicals, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, plus their counterpart, cortisol. Sinek explains how these chemicals drive our survival and cooperation.
Okay, let's break them down. Endorphins first. What's their main job?
Masking physical pain, the runner's high, right? They kick in under stress or fear, letting us push through. Think ancient hunters tracking wounded prey for miles.
Our natural painkiller. And laughter releases them too.
Apparently so. You can't laugh and be afraid simultaneously, as Colbert said. It's a pain and fear blocker.
Okay, endorphins. Got it. Next, dopamine, the progress chemical.
Exactly. That little hit of pleasure when you find something you're looking for, tick off a task, achieve a goal, it rewards progress. Seeing that fruit tree back in the day.
Or hitting a sales target today, seeing numbers go up.
Yep. Metrics give us dopamine hits. Bigger goals, more effort, potentially more dopamine. That's why clear, visible goals are motivating. Write it down, make it tangible.
Like Dr. King's I have a dream. A clear vision, not some vague corporate statement.
Precisely. But dopamine is also tricky. Highly addictive. Cocaine, nicotine, gambling, social media notifications, texts, likes. It's all dopamine. And you can get addicted to hitting numbers at work too, chasing the buzz.
So it drives accomplishment, but not necessarily fulfillment.
That's Sinek's key distinction. True fulfillment needs connection, which involves the other chemicals.
Okay, like serotonin, the leadership chemical.
Yeah. That's a feeling of pride, status, confidence we get when others like or respect us. Sally Field at the Oscars. You like me.
We crave the approval of our tribe.
Deeply. Awards, recognition programs, graduations, likes, it's all tapping into serotonin. It reinforces social bonds, parent-child, leader-follower. It makes us feel accountable to those who support us.
Like running a marathon, you push harder when people are cheering for you.
Exactly. You're running for them too because of that serotonin boost from their support. And giving to others, helping them succeed, boosts our status and respect, releasing serotonin and incentivizing more giving. Leaders, true alphas, are often those who work hardest for others' success.
Makes sense. So serotonin is about status and social bonds. What about oxytocin, the love chemical?
Oxytocin, that's the feeling of friendship, love, deep trust, the warm fuzzies. It's crucial for empathy, generosity, strong bonds. It lets us rely on others.
Essential for partnerships, loving our kids, feeling safe with someone.
Totally. It's our social compass for trust. And unlike dopamine, it builds slowly through shared time, vulnerability. That quote Sinek uses is perfect. Love is giving someone the power to destroy us and trusting they won't use it.
Wow. That requires oxytocin.
For sure. It's really through generosity, physical touch hugs, handshakes, and just being with our tribe. Makes us feel we belong, safe inside the circle. Being alone triggers the opposite cortisol.
And oxytocin has other benefits too.
Yeah, boosts immunity, problem solving, makes us more resistant to dopamine addiction. It gives that lasting calm, that deep safety of knowing someone's got your back.
Okay, so those are the 4 positive drivers. EDSO, but there's also cortisol. The big C.
The stress chemical, the alarm system. Sinek uses the gazelle example. One sees a rustle, gets alert, cortisol. The whole herd tenses up, ready to run. It's our early warning system.
That gut feeling that something's wrong.
That's cortisol kicking in, heightening your senses, preparing you for danger before it actually hits. Without it, we'd be toast.
But it's meant to be short-term.
Exactly. It triggers stress, anxiety, fight or flight. Think office rumors of layoffs. Cortisol floods the system. Worry spreads. Productivity tanks. If the threat is real, adrenaline joins in.
But constant cortisol from ongoing workplace stress.
That's the problem. It's meant to be temporary. Prolonged exposure wears us down, physically and mentally. It's incredibly damaging. And that is where our source material for today ends.
All right, so let's pull this all together for you. We've journeyed through Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last and hopefully pulled out the real core stuff. We saw how leaders putting their people first, literally eating last, builds that crucial trust.
Yeah, and the power of empathy, like with Johnny Bravo. It's not just a soft skill, it can be a critical asset.
Definitely. And then the whole idea of the circle of safety, building that internal trust so the team can actually face outwards, tackle the real challenges.
Understanding those internal versus external dangers and the leader's role in managing the internal ones.
And finally, understanding our own biology. EDSO, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and cortisol, knowing how these chemicals shape our feelings, our motivation, our connections at work.
It gives you a whole new lens to look through, doesn't it?
It really does. And hopefully for you listening, this deep dive has given you that quick, solid understanding Sinek offers, maybe with a few surprises, like empathy being Bravo's biggest weapon, or hating your job being as bad as being unemployed.
Or just seeing how those different chemicals drive different feelings, accomplishment versus fulfillment, for instance.
Right. We tried to lay it out clearly so you can connect these ideas to, your own team, your own leadership style, maybe even just your own well-being at work.
Absolutely. Food for thought.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with, something to mull over. Take an honest look at your own workplace. How much do the leaders really practice eating last? How wide, how strong is that circle of safety? Does it include everyone?
And maybe what's one small thing you could do wherever you sit in the organization to strengthen that circle, to build a bit more trust, foster a bit more belonging?
Because, as Sinek shows, unlocking those powerful forces of connection and safety, that might be the real key to unlocking potential in your team and maybe even in yourself. Something to think about.
Thanks for listening. Visit our library and subscribe below for more book summaries. This has been a Sprint Reads production.